Something happened to me this week. I'll be honest with you, I made a mistake. And with that mistake, it brought a little bit of embarrassment. It brought a little bit of guilt and shame to me. It wasn't anything major. It was actually very simple, easily corrected, and something that I could learn from and do a little bit different in the future. But as the week went on, I just kept thinking back to it, kept thinking back to that mistake and how I needed to correct it and what I needed to be changed for future times when I run into the same issue. And we all make mistakes. I mean, that's pretty inevitable. Every day, you kind of may goof up something. It may be something simple on paperwork. It may be saying the wrong thing. We all make those mistakes. But I started equivalating the mistakes to sin. Sometimes you can be going along and everything's going great and you slip up. And when you slip up, it can bring shame. It can bring embarrassment. And then you start thinking about, how do I correct this? How do I move on from here? And what do I need to do? So that's what I want to talk to you about this week. How do you address the mistakes when you make them? But more importantly, how do you address the mistake of a sin when you make it? We all agree that everybody makes mistakes. In fact, you hear people all the time say, well, we all make mistakes. That's why pencils have erasers, because of mistakes. But how many times do we all realize that we all sinned? And we forget that little verse in Romans that say we have all sinned and come short of the glory of God. It's not enough to realize that you made a mistake. You have to correct the mistake. And, just like the saying, pencils have erasers. Well, what are you doing with the eraser? Are you using it? Just like when you realize you've sinned, what are you doing to correct that? What is your eraser when it comes to sin? That's where I want to share with you a verse out of 1 John in chapter 1. It says in verse 8, if we say that we have no sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just to forgive us of our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. If we say that we have not sinned, we make him a liar, and his word is not in us. So we realize we've sinned. We realized we've made a mistake, and we need to correct that mistake. So we go and we confess our sins, and he's faithful and just to forgive us of our sins and to cleanse us from all unrighteousness. But the first key there is to admit that you've made that mistake, and you need to correct that. This is where you're going to start using that eraser on the pencil. I want to read on to you just a little bit in chapter 2. It says, my little children, these things I write to you so that you may not sin. And if anyone sins, we have an advocate with the Father, Jesus Christ the righteous. And he himself is the propitiation for our sins, and not for ours only, but also for the whole world. Jesus Christ is our advocate. He's the one that intercedes for us to the Father. And when we realize we've made that mistake, when we realize that we've sinned, we go to him and we confess our sins. And he is faithful and just to forgive us and cleanse us. And he is our advocate. He goes before the Father, and he stands between us and him, and he is our eraser. He's the one that cleanses us and can help fix the sin or the mistake that we've made. You've made a mistake. You realize you've made a mistake. You realize that your pencil has an eraser, and you go. You confess that sin. You use Jesus Christ, your eraser, to cleanse you of that unrighteousness. So now we move forward. Of course, we've learned from our mistake, and we strive through Christ not to make the same mistake twice. So I encourage you this week, just like everyone says that all have made mistakes, well, all have sinned. The important thing is to realize you've made that mistake, to realize that you need to correct that mistake, and then you go to the right person to help you correct that mistake, and that right person is Jesus Christ. Allow him to cleanse you, allow him to help you, and allow him to teach you, so that as you move forward in this week, if you make a mistake, you realize there's a way to correct it, but you also realize there's a way to learn from it and to help prevent from making that same mistake in the future. God bless you this coming week.